The zoo is a place many people love to visit when they're younger because they've never seen such fascinating creatures up close. People enjoy watching exotic animals and love it when the zookeepers put on special presentations with some of them, but even though all of that is great, it doesn't mean the zoo is a place where nothing out of the ordinary ever happens. In fact, zoos around the world have been the scene of incidents ranging from minor scares to truly dangerous situations. And recently in Brazil, a case shocked the entire country. A young man in a psychotic episode broke into a lioness's enclosure and lost his life after being attacked. A brutal reminder that behind the barriers, wild nature remains as unpredictable as ever. If you don't believe it, keep watching and check out 20 cases of incidents and scares in zoos around the world. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now let's get started. Number 1. Escape and return. If you need proof that some animals actually prefer the zoo to the outside world, just watch the video of this hippopotamus. As you can see, he manages to get out of his enclosure, crosses an open security gate, and reaches the real world. Hippos are dangerous, so this could have been a huge disaster. But instead, it almost turned into a comedy sketch. Why? Just a few minutes later, he voluntarily returns to the zoo. He could have explored the city without a care, but decided it wasn't worth it. I can't blame him for thinking that way, Mr. Hippo. I really can't. Number 2. The dancing monkey. Earlier we had a dancing bear, but now it's time for a dancing monkey. And not just any dancing, break dancing. At the Calgary Zoo, a camera captured a gorilla spinning in a puddle and making big splashes, following a rhythm that only he could hear in his mind. Clearly, the primate was having a lot of fun, when that's something that should be encouraged. It's not exactly known what triggered this dance fever, but he enjoyed it so much that he kept going for quite a while. The funniest part is that suddenly he just stops out of nowhere, as if nothing had happened. Maybe he knew he was being watched. Number 3. Black swans. Some people filmed a pair of swans in a koi pond and they were feeding the fish that live in the same space, which is curious because normally birds eat fish. They don't feed them, so what's going on here? Well, the keepers admit that this isn't something they taught the swans, as you might imagine. In fact, this behavior arose out of necessity. When black swans are fed, they receive dry pellets, which they dip into the water to make them easier to digest. This, of course, alerts the koi, who come to see what's happening. Eventually, the swans learn to feed the fish, spreading the food around. What an adorable way they have of doing things. Number 4. Geese are still annoying. Yes, that statement remains true, even if you hesitate to admit it. And honestly, I know a rhinoceros who would sign that sentence without thinking twice. To the joy and surprise of the zoo visitors, an unusual interaction between 2 geese and a rhinoceros basically turned into a little outdoor show. The rhino was just living his life, eating peacefully, completely unaware of any drama. The geese, on the other hand, well, geese being geese, right? They stayed there in the water, acting like they were the true owners of the enclosure. Everything kicks off when the rhino decides to take a few steps and ends up getting a bit too close to one of the geese. Instantly, the goose does what geese do best, screams like the world is ending and runs away as if it's been deeply offended. That tiny scare was enough to trigger an exaggerated reaction from the other goose, turning the scene into a furious choir of outraged honks. And the best, or worst part, is that the rhinoceros, one of the heaviest, strongest, and most dangerous animals of the savannah, simply runs away, literally flees. The 1-ton giant starts running as if the geese were demonic creatures about to attack. The spectators are shocked, laughing, and doubting what they're seeing. After all, the rhino could take out both geese without even noticing, but in the end, the ones truly in charge are the little feathered tyrants. This scene proves one universal point. No matter your size, strength, or natural armor, if someone pushes the right button, you crumble like anyone else. And in the rhino's case, that button clearly goes by the name Goose. Number 5. The dancing bear. You've probably seen some version of a dancing bear in a circus, but what about in a zoo? Well, as you're about to see, this polar bear really has the moves. He knows how to sway his body, he knows how to get into the beat, and it almost looks like he has a rehearsed routine just to entertain the crowd. The kids in the video go wild, and so do the parents. But the big question is, where did this bear learn those steps? Impossible to say, but I'm sure someone out there would gladly partner up with him on Dancing with the Stars. Just imagine the audience he would bring, even bigger than the Coca-Cola Bears. Number 6. crocodile fight. We're back to the fights, this time a clash between crocodiles of the same species. As you can imagine, the fight doesn't start right away. The two just stare at each other until one of them makes the first move, and that's when the confrontation begins. The most interesting part is that they almost seem to follow a kind of code of conduct in the way they fight. It's not a fast brawl, on the contrary, it's a slow, methodical struggle. Both try to bite each other to gain the upper hand, even though it doesn't work very well. After plenty of biting, shoving, and hissing, they finally back off. But that leaves the big question: what would have happened if they had actually fought with full force? Number 7. On two legs. One of the traits that sets humans apart from most primates is the ability to walk fully upright on two legs. Yes, gorillas and orangutans can stand up for a while, but they prefer moving around on all fours. It's faster, more efficient, and far more natural for them. But with this chimpanzee, things are a little different. What happened is that this ape simply decided to abandon the standard locomotion and started walking like a human, completely upright with a step cycle that looks almost identical to ours. He not only keeps perfect balance, but also swings his arms in sync with the walk, almost mimicking that natural rhythm we use without even noticing. At one point, he even reaches out his hands in the correct way to grab something. And of course, he gets a banana as a reward for his impeccable performance. If it were just a short walk, nobody would pay much attention, but nope. The chimp chooses to proudly parade around the enclosure as if he's heading to the grocery store, just to prove he can walk like that for long stretches. The visitors are so impressed that they start murmuring, laughing, saying he walks better than many people out there. And honestly, they're not wrong. His posture is so stable and so natural that it's borderline unsettling. I'm not sure who taught the chimp this trick, or if he simply learned it by watching humans over and over. But I sincerely hope this isn't the beginning of something bigger, because let's be honest, if a chimpanzee is already walking around like an ordinary citizen, the next step is asking for a job, an ID card, and maybe even labor rights. Number 8. What is that? I'm sure this has happened to you before. You come across some random creature and have a mini freak out because you have no idea what it is. That moment of confusion isn't exclusive to humans. In the animal world, it happens all the time. Animals rely heavily on recognizing threats, allies, and objects in their environment to survive. But when we talk about zoos, where exotic creatures live in spaces that look nothing like their natural habitats, sometimes the local wildlife shows up to say hi. And it's not always well understood. That's exactly what happened with a group of gibbons who became completely baffled by a porcupine that started walking toward their enclosure. To us, a porcupine is just a cute, slow, spiky little animal, nothing unusual. But for the gibbons, it looked like an unknown, potentially dangerous entity. Several times, the white gibbon looks at the porcupine, watches it move, tries to understand it, and immediately runs away as if it just saw a monster climbing the nearest tree to feel safe. It even peeks from above as if thinking, does it bite? Does it jump? Does it explode? Meanwhile, the porcupine just keeps walking like nothing is happening. It isn't a threat at all, but the gibbon has no way of knowing that. For him, it's better to run first and figure things out later, a strategy that often saves lives in the wild. To make things even funnier, at one point the porcupine simply stops, sniffs the air, and continues its slow walk, completely unaware of the emotional chaos it's causing in the gibbon. It's as if the two are living in different realities, one trying to survive what he believes is a mystical creature, the other just looking for a nice place to explore. And in the end, this small encounter shows that even inside a zoo, the unknown always finds a way to appear. Number 9. I want some. When humans and animals spend enough time together in a zoo, many of them start noticing interesting patterns. They understand that certain gestures, sounds, or behaviors can lead to rewards, especially when food is involved. Some animals learn this way too fast, and this case is a perfect example. We're at a zoo where visitors are feeding bears, following the rules of the place. The bears in turn make small movements, lift their paws, shake their heads, each one in its own style, trying to show they're ready to receive a snack. After two of them are fed successfully, the group turns to the right and sees the best possible scene. A bear waving at them in an incredibly human-like way. He raises his arm, moves his paw as if saying, "Hey, over here, me too." The reaction is instant. Everyone bursts out laughing, and you can't blame them. That bear looks like an excited child asking for a cookie, fully aware that the trick works. Where did he learn this gesture? Nobody really knows. Maybe he watched someone do it. Maybe he noticed it grabbed attention. Or maybe he just decided to innovate. But one thing is guaranteed. As long as he keeps doing that adorable wave in front of visitors, he'll never run out of treats coming his way. A true genius in the art of animal negotiation. Number 10. Goose versus giraffes. Here's another animal fight for you, but this one is a bit stranger than the last. That's because instead of two animals of the same species fighting, we have two species that almost never meet in the wild. And that, honestly, no one would ever imagine facing each other. At the Brookfield Zoo, a goose and its family were calmly walking through the area when three giraffes approached, curious, just observing the little feathered family like someone looking at something new on the path. The giraffes weren't going to do anything to them, but the goose, of course, didn't know that. To him, those giant legs were walking threats getting way too close to his babies. So what did he do? He took off into the air, spread his wings like a furious little warrior, and started attacking the giraffes, making that classic goose sound that already signals trouble. That's right, this goose, many times smaller and infinitely more fragile than a giraffe, charged at them without a second thought in an attack that was as bold as it was comical. It was pure instinct and pure courage, all to protect his family, even against creatures that could crush him without the slightest effort. The giraffes, clearly confused, backed away as if saying, okay, we get it, we won't bother you. And just like that, they learned a truth humans have known for a long time. Geese really are terrifying. Small, yes, but with an attitude that could make even a lion think twice before provoking one. Number 11. It's mine. There are many laws of the jungle, but one of the biggest is this. If you're going to steal something from a bigger animal, pray you don't get caught, and preferably don't try at all. In a zoo, a large orangutan was there, minding its own business, when a macaque wandered over and noticed the orangutan had a banana in its mouth. Temptation took over, and the macaque, maybe a bit too confident in its own agility, decided to test its luck. It tried to steal the banana, and immediately learned why that was a terrible idea. The orangutan reacted with frightening speed, grabbing the macaque by the head with one hand, firm as a hydraulic claw. The little monkey went completely still, as if it had instantly realized it had just activated the wild mode of the wrong creature. The video ends there, but the scene alone is enough to give anyone chills. After all, most people imagine orangutans as peaceful, wise, gentle, almost philosophical creatures. But all it takes is one moment of provocation to remember that behind that calm expression lies a brutal strength capable of snapping tree branches like paper. And this one didn't hesitate for a second before trying to crush the macaque's skull, and could have easily killed it if it truly wanted to. The scariest part is how effortlessly it seemed to do it, like holding something far too light to take seriously. That's why you should never underestimate your opponent or assume size doesn't matter, because just when you think you're in control, they do something like wrap their entire hand around your head and remind you that in the animal kingdom, respect is not optional. Number 12. Zoo break. Sometimes creatures simply want to be free, no matter the cost. And if that means spending a good part of their lives trying to escape prison, well, many will try, even if they fail dozens of times. After all, determination is a force we don't always associate with animals, but it's definitely present in them. I'm not sure whether an animal really thinks that way when placed in a zoo, but one thing is certain. There are countless cases of animals that decided it was a good idea to escape their enclosures and go for a stroll around the city, as if they were starring in their own adventure movie. But one of the last creatures you'd expect to see attempting an escape is an octopus. After all, they're aquatic. How would they get out? Simple. They have suction cups, and they know exactly how to use them with a precision that feels almost like a planned operation. In the video, visitors happened to be in the right place at the right time and saw an octopus begin to climb up and over the glass wall of its tank. At first, the crowd finds it funny, thinking it's just exploring the environment. But oh, such little faith in the willpower of life. The animal's movement is slow, calculated, almost silent, as if it were analyzing its escape route. When a creature wants freedom, nothing will stop it. Not gravity, not glass, not the shock of the humans watching. And that's exactly what happened. The octopus managed to climb, get over the glass, and fall onto the floor outside the tank, immediately starting to crawl toward the unknown. Only then did did people realize, maybe we should call a zookeeper, right? And we humans are supposed to be the most evolved ones. Fortunately, the keepers rushed in and contained the animal quickly, preventing it from getting hurt and leaving those visitors with a story they would never forget, one that surely became one of the boldest escape attempts ever recorded. Number 13. Let them fight. This is one of those moments that proves animals can fight, even when they have everything they need. If it were two different animals that accidentally ended up together in the same enclosure, okay, that would make sense. But when it's two creatures of the same species living in a well-maintained zoo, you really have to wonder, why are they fighting? Sometimes not even the keepers know for sure. Rivalries can appear out of nowhere, just like they do with humans. And that's exactly what happened with this pair of gorillas. At first, they barely pay attention to each other. Each one is busy doing their own show for the audience, beating their chest, pacing around, trying to assert dominance. Nothing unusual, until in a matter of seconds, everything changes. The two start staring each other down, their bodies tense up, and suddenly they clash with full force. And as you can see, these are massive gorillas with absurd strength behind every move, capable of destroying anything around them if they wanted to. The result? They end up terrifying everyone watching. One of the women filming even asks several times where the zookeepers are because she wants someone to intervene, which honestly is understandable. Watching two huge animals fight just a few meters away is not exactly comforting. Honestly, I don't think the keepers could have done much in that moment, since the two were fighting aggressively. They could try shouting to interrupt, but it probably wouldn't work. There are emergency dispersal methods, like loud noises or prepared distractions, but you never know if they'll be effective in situations like this, especially when adrenaline and territorial instinct take over. The point is, that enclosure went from a peaceful space to a full-on fighting ring in seconds. And moments like this serve as a reminder that even in controlled environments, nature always finds a way to show itself, sometimes in explosive fashion. Number 14. I want my hat back. Despite what many people think, there are only a few simple rules when visiting a zoo. Don't feed the animals unless it's allowed. Don't annoy the animals. You never know how they might react. And finally, don't go into the animal enclosure. You'd imagine that last one would be the easiest to follow, for obvious reasons, but no, people do it all the time. And even worse, many don't seem to care about the danger at all. The perfect combination of overconfidence, distraction, and pure human impulse always creates situations that defy any logic. In a video from the Toronto Zoo, for example, a woman dropped her hat while watching a tiger from above the enclosure. Without hesitation, without thinking twice, and apparently without any awareness of the risk, she jumped down, ending up just a few centimeters away from one of the most dangerous predators on the planet, all just to retrieve her accessory. What saved her? Multiple layers of bars and fences designed specifically to prevent exactly this kind of tragedy. These barriers were the difference between a scare and a real disaster. The tiger, clearly in attack mode, was only a few steps and a few inches from reaching the new prey that had practically fallen from the sky into its territory. The irony? After the woman climbed back up and rejoined the other visitors, a man called her an idiot, stunned by what he had just witnessed. And let's be honest, it's hard to completely disagree, though he could have chosen slightly kinder words. It's even possible that the woman faced serious consequences afterward, since entering enclosures is strictly prohibited and can result in fines, expulsion, or even legal action. And let's make this very clear, she was extremely lucky. One impulsive decision could easily have turned into a tragedy caught on camera. So please, don't try anything like this. If you drop something inside an enclosure, remember, nothing in there is worth your life. And honestly, it's often not even worth becoming an international meme because of such an incredibly reckless choice. Number 15. Next photo, please. One thing animals definitely don't fully understand is the technology we use every day. Sure, they can be trained to use certain objects, but that's a completely different story. Gorillas are among the few animals capable of using tools with great efficiency. Even so, not even they can handle the power of a smartphone. At the Louisville Zoo, a young visitor ended up catching the attention of a massive gorilla when he started showing photos of other gorillas on his phone. He held the device close to the glass, showed one image, and the gorilla immediately reacted, tilting its head or moving closer to get a better look. He showed another picture, and there was the gorilla again, examining every detail as if it were an art critic evaluating celebrating a museum masterpiece. It's one of the strangest yet most fascinating scenes, and it happens right in front of you with no tricks at all. By the end of the video, the gorilla is sitting down, leaning against the glass, completely absorbed in the moment, as if nothing in the world were more interesting than seeing one more photo on that teenager's phone. Great. Now teenagers are corrupting animals too. Jokes aside, it's genuinely an adorable moment. It's hard to know exactly what the gorilla was thinking, but the fact that it stayed engaged for so long says a lot about its intelligence, its natural curiosity, and its desire for varied stimulation. Maybe it was recognizing faces, comparing expressions, or simply trying to understand that shiny object full of images. If you visit a zoo anytime soon, you might want to try this trick and see if it works for you. Just don't be surprised if you end up doing a full photo session for a gorilla that clearly has more patience than many people. Number 16. Tug of war. Another big curiosity people have about animals is comparing their strength to ours. Some creatures, like bears, gorillas, and even big cats, are absurdly stronger than any human. But what about other animals? Could humans in certain situations at least compete with them? This question always comes up when we see challenges involving brute force, and that leads us to our next moment. A tug of war took place at a zoo a few years ago when 3 WWE wrestlers, Ricochet, Fabian Eichner, and Killian Dane, decided to take part in a rope pulling contest against a lion. It's important to make it clear, as shown in the video, that everything was planned with extreme safety. The lion couldn't hurt anyone. The rope was positioned so no participant would face any real danger, and both the animal and the wrestlers were protected, with no chance of getting injured. Even so, the strength involved was astonishing. These wrestlers are not exactly ordinary people. Killian Dane is a true monster in the wrestling world, with a massive physique, and the other two are also extremely strong and well trained. For them, pulling ropes, lifting weights, and facing huge opponents is part of daily life. But despite all their brute strength, defined muscles, and physical conditioning, all the lion had to do was bite the rope, sink its jaws into it, and pull with determination. For the animal, it was almost a game. The result? The 3 wrestlers gave up, completely unable to compete with the natural power of a predator that depends on muscle and raw strength to survive in the savannah. This scene makes the lion's power very clear, not only its bite force, but also its ability to apply constant strength without getting tired as quickly as a human. It's a reminder that even the strongest men in the world, when placed face to face with the pure force of nature, simply don't stand a chance. What a world we live in, right? Sometimes we forget how small we are compared to creatures that were born to dominate the wild. Number 17. The orangutan kiss. Now we go to a zoo in the United Kingdom where a unique moment took place between a pregnant woman and a pair of orangutans, a mother and her baby. Many people wonder how much animals truly understand about humans and their nature. Do they perceive emotions, physical changes, or even pregnancy? Well, here we have a surprising and emotional answer. Nursing assistant Naomi Davies was at the zoo with her fiance, 4 months pregnant and already showing a noticeable baby bump. When they reached the orangutan enclosure, there was a mother carrying her baby on her back, calmly observing the visitors. As soon as Naomi approached, both the mother and the young orangutan looked directly at her belly as if analyzing something familiar. The little one then went up to the glass and began giving several kisses exactly where Naomi's belly would have been if nothing were separating them. The scene left Naomi visibly emotional. It was as if the young orangutan fully understood the meaning of that swelling, recognizing a new life on the way. The mother orangutan also seemed to understand, keeping her gaze fixed and curious, almost as if giving her own maternal approval. Later, Naomi said she was amazed that they noticed her pregnancy so easily, but that it all made sense. After all, the orangutan mother had also recently given birth, and she might instinctively recognize the physical changes in another mother. The lesson this moment gives is simple but powerful. Even though humans may be more evolved in many ways, there are universal elements that connect all forms of life. And one of them is the instinct to protect and love a child. It doesn't matter if that child comes from a human womb or a nest in the forest. Motherhood is a bond that transcends species. Naomi also said that once her baby was born, she planned to return to the zoo to introduce the child to the orangutans, a sweet gesture that shows just how deeply that encounter touched her life. Number 18. Hit the hippo. There are certain animals in the world you should never even think about hitting, mainly because if you provoke some of them, they can end you in a matter of seconds. And among all dangerous animals, the hippo is easily near the top of the list. But when it comes to zookeepers, sometimes they really do need to get physical with the animals to ensure that visitors don't get hurt. This happened at a zoo in Delhi, India, where a hippo was peacefully relaxing in its water pit when it suddenly decided to climb up and step over the enclosure wall, getting dangerously close to the people watching. Fortunately, the hippo wasn't being aggressive, it was most likely just curious, trying to understand who those people so close to it were. Another thing we should be grateful for is that the zookeeper was right there, and he acted without a second of hesitation. With unbelievable courage, he began slapping the hippo's snout, pushing the animal back as if he were dealing with a stubborn dog. The hippo, confused, slowly backed up, realizing that the only way to stop the slaps was to return to the water. The situation could have been disastrous for several reasons. Hippos may look clumsy or even cute, but they are responsible for countless deaths in Africa. They are territorial, strong, fast, and unpredictable. In other words, if that hippo had decided to react differently, we would be looking at a very serious accident in the video. It's worth noting that the zookeeper did exactly what needed to be done. Many people dislike the idea of humans hitting animals, but he wasn't hurting the hippo. He was simply setting boundaries. When you compare the massive size of the animal with the zookeeper, it's obvious that those slaps didn't hurt at all. To a hippo, that probably felt more like an annoyance than anything else. And as far as we know, this might even be one of the management techniques used to teach hippos which areas they can access and when they need to back off. In the end, everyone walked away unharmed. The zookeeper, the visitors, and of course the hippo itself, which likely went back to relaxing in the water as if nothing had happened. Number 19. The lion wants the child. Have you ever been to a zoo and found yourself staring at an animal that's literally just on the other side of a glass wall? Even when people say it's safe, that little doubt always pops up. Is it really? After all, these animals are incredibly strong, fast, and unpredictable. Yet we trust that a simple pane of glass will keep us completely protected. The next video might calm some of those fears, or create new ones you never even considered. At a zoo, a little girl was observing a lioness resting peacefully on a nearby rock. The lioness was also interested in her, but definitely not for friendly reasons. As you can see, the lioness switched fully into hunting mode. The crouch posture, the fixed stare, the stillness before the jump, all classic signs of a predator sizing up its prey. The child, without understanding any of this, playfully taps on the glass, trying to get even more attention. And in a way, she succeeded. Right after the girl turned her back, the lioness lunged forward in a powerful leap, slamming into the glass as she tried to grab her. The impact was so strong that even the nearby visitors jumped in fright. Thankfully, the glass was there, and fortunately, it was strong enough to withstand that attack. The lioness, confused, seemed unable to understand how something invisible could block her natural movement. What stands out the most is how she never takes her eyes off the girl. Even when the brother tries to call her, makes noise, and waves, the lioness completely ignores him. That makes it very clear that she was focused solely on the little girl. And interestingly, if you listen to the original video, you can hear the mother laughing at the situation, a rather peculiar reaction considering that an animal weighing over 150 kilos had just tried to turn her daughter into lunch. Just saying. In the end, the video is a mix of scare, humor, and reality. It shows that zoos really do know what they're doing when they build their protective barriers, and that even in front of such a dangerous predator, a layer of glass can truly save lives. Number 20. The gibbon. Here we have a gibbon, a type of monkey, that was up in the trees of its enclosure at the Dudley Zoo in England. But what makes this moment worthy of being on this list? Simple. The gibbon decided to put on a show. As you can see, the animal is able to perform impressive acrobatics among the trees and branches. It even executes controlled drops to go from one point to another, perfectly grabbing another part of the tree to continue its routine. Although it's common to see monkeys messing around in zoos or in their natural environments, this case was different. Here, the gibbon was clearly showing off, demonstrating how skilled it was at swinging around. Not that this is a bad bad thing. Sometimes we do want to see something amazing coming from an animal like this, and it was incredible, no doubt about it. What's interesting is that when he finished, the gibbon seemed unsure of why everything had suddenly gone quiet. One of the reasons behind this impressive acrobatic ability lies in its skeletal structure. A unique feature of the gibbon's anatomy is its wrist, which works like a ball and socket joint, allowing biaxial movement. This greatly reduces the effort needed in the arm and torso, as well as decreasing stress on the shoulder joint. It's not something you would expect, but it shows that nature doesn't create all creatures the way we imagine. I applaud the gibbon for its acrobatics, and I'm sure many people would love to be as agile as he is. To make everything even more intriguing, visitors reported that the gibbon seemed aware it was being watched. With each boulder jump, it would take a quick glance at the crowd, as if checking their reaction before attempting something even more challenging. This behavior reinforces just how intelligent these animals can be. In the end, the improvised performance left everyone stunned and created one of those rare moments that those who witnessed it will certainly never forget. It truly was an unexpected spectacle for everyone there. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Don't forget to check out other interesting content appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.